Hello everyone. Thank you for checking out my presentation. So I welcome you all to my literature and film final paper presentation. The topic I will be writing about is We Are What We Are Told, an observation on authoritarianism and its effect on individuals' life in Happy End 1966 and Jojo Rabbit 2019. Well, the reasons why I pick these two particular films is because I love both of them and they share similar aspects. Well, and because I love Jojo Rabbit very much, that I would like to write something about it, and I find it that it would be really interesting to like it in comparison to the story of The Happy End 1966. So this still like a very rough thesis statement. I would have to say, but my thesis statement is that both protagonists from Happy End 1966 and Jojo Rabbit 2019 are the results from the exercise of power and corrupted propaganda during the authoritative regime, which is reflected in their ironic behavior. Well, but before I will be moving on to like what's the point I will be supporting this argument, I would like to give you some social and historical context in relating to both of this film. So the first one is the social and historical context in Happy End. Well, I would like to talk about three particular ideas. Well, the first one is the Czechoslovakia during the communist time. Well, for this part, I will be briefly talking about how Czechoslovakia becomes a communist country and how that communist party is being developed or corrupted, if you would say, during the time. And the next point I will be talking about is the show trials. Ajahn Varita has already talked about show trials in class, so in my paper I will be really briefing about what show trials is and some example. Show trials is very crucial in relation to my discussions of the film Happy Ends because it plays a very important role in the story, which I will be talking about later on. And the last point I would like to talk about the social and historical context for Happy End is about the normalization, the censorship, and about the Charter 77, about how the life of the artists or those who create works is being that they have to suffer from the censorship of the communist regime. So the next one is social and historical context in Jojo Rabbit. So one of the main things I would like to talk about in Jojo Rabbit is narcissism and racism, of course, because that is very a crucial part that happens that had been discussed in Jojo Rabbit. And well, everyone probably already knows about the problem of narcissism and racism during the World War II in Germany. So I would skip that in my presentation and I will discuss that in my paper instead. But the idea that I would like to make in this presentation is about the Hitler Youth. So maybe not many people know about the Hitler Youth, but the idea about the Hitler Youth is that is an the organization that's kind of like dealing with the youth, the German youth, and that has been organized by the Nazi Party in Germany. The Nazi Party kind of like set up a movement for the German youth so that they can have an ensuring future for the Nazi Party, while they try to teach those youth of the Nazi ideology, racisms about the Aryan race and how the Jewish are inferior to them. So this movement is what's kind of like keep the Nazi party going on, because they will always have the support from the youth, and those youth will finally turn out to be Nazi's party and the soldiers that fight in the war. And the last point I would like to make in social and historical context for Jojo Rabbit is the life of Germans. So mainly I will talk about the German rebels during the World War II time. So because in the film we would see that Jojo's anti-Nazi's mother is actually one of the rebels who try to inspire people to rise up against the Nazi party. And also she provides aids or shelters for the Jewish girl, Elsa. So the next part is the synopsis of of both films. But well, we have already watched Happy Ends together, so I'm probably going to skip that in my presentation. Jojo Rabbit is actually worth talking about because I believe that most people in this class haven't watched Jojo Rabbit yet. Well, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Well, just for this part. Sorry. So the story is set during the peak of World War II in Germany. Well, the film itself is a coming of age about a boy named Johannes Bessler. He is a full-on fanatic of Nazism. Well, he also has an imaginary friend as Adolf Hitler himself. He lived with his mother, who is an anti-Nazi and a part of the rebel. Well, one day Jojo discovered that his mother gave shelter to a young Jewish girl named Elsa through his journey, and their relationship with the girl is about to uncover the lies he has been living in the Nazi party regime.
Hi.
Moving on to the next thing is like the point I would like to make in relation to my main argument of the paper. So the first point is that what is the story that the protagonists are being told. So in Happy End, we can see that there is a scene where the protagonist has to be in front of the court. And in that scene, he has been sent, well, if the story is told in linear, he is sentenced to death. But actually in Happy End, it was shown that he was released into a new life he can live. I think that's the point I would heavily want to talk about in this particular film, because I believe that in this particular scene is that what we are being seen, or like the story that the character is being told, is that he killed his wife and so on and so forth, living his life, cheating himself also before finding his wife cheating on him and killed her. The motion picture that being shown to us is what actually the story that he is being lied to. But what he's really telling us, the narration itself, is what actually is true. So that's the point I would like to prove in this particular point. Because if you think about it, it's kind of like the protagonist is being put on a show trial, just the same way that they did in Czechoslovakia during the communist time. And the show trial can set up people and plead them guilty because of their ideology that goes against with the Communist Party. And in the same way, the trial scenes in Happy Ends is the representation of trial scene in real life. And what is actually being shown is what is the line that being set up by the regime, and what is being told by the character is what actually is real. Moving on to Jojo Rabbit. So I would like to point out that what Jojo is being lied to is about the racial issues and the superiority of the Aryan race, which is kind of like embedded in Jojo's head. He is brainwashed by the propaganda of the Third Line that drives people into embracing the Nazism, when actually that all of it is just a corrupted propaganda that the Nazi party used. The next point I would like to make is that the point about who's in control of the story that's being told to them. So it happened, it wasn't really quite show that clear cut, because the story kind of revolving around how the protagonist live his life from the beginning to the end, or the end to the beginning, however you want to say it. But actually, I would like to point out that the court, as the authoritative representation in the film, is the corrupted Communist Party who's trying to hold onto its power and corrupting the protagonists and the people of Czechoslovakia at that time. And in Jojo Rabbit, oh well, it's obviously the Nazi party and the Hitler himself that oppress the people and control the story that being told to them.
Let them say whatever they want. People used to say a lot of nasty things about me. Oh, this guy's a lunatic. Oh, look at that psycho. He's gonna get us all killed.
The next point is that how does the story, these lies, affect both of the characters? Well, in Happy End, we can see that although that the character has the voice to narrate the stories, but for the effect that it has on the audience, we feel that the things that he tells is an ironic to what is being shown to us. That's the effect it has on him because his voice is silenced. No matter how much he's saying, we are not really listening to him and believing what he's saying, but we actually watch what is being shown, what is being lied to. And for Jojo Rabbit, we can see that for Jojo has to suffer from his own disillusioned ideology of Nazism as is opposed to his experience encountering with the Jewish girl, Elsa, and his own condition with his anti-Nazi mother. He has to live with his conflicting idea of how he would feel toward the Jewish and how he would feel towards the Nazi. He considered himself a Nazi, but then again, being a Nazi wasn't really that quite good as he's thinking he would be when he has experienced his life throughout the story. And the last point I would like to make in relation to the main the thesis statement or the main argument is that do they or do they not escape the story? Well, in Happy End, we can see that the story ends in a very promising way as the protagonist finds a happy ending in his life when he finds peace at the beginning of his life. But, well, if we really looked at it, we can see that the movie shows that the character is just unable to escape the story which is controlling him, that eventually leads to his death or the beginning of the film, which is the execution scene. Although that how much he tried to recreating the stories in his own favor, he is unable to do so because the government has the power to control what's being shown, and that's how all the people will believe. And for Jojo is able to disassociate himself from the ideology of Nazism more and more as he grows to love Elsa.
I found these. You can have them. They're probably broken. Doesn't mean anything.
Also, his discovery of his, spoiler alert, his mother's death by the Nazis' cruel action, and also the ugliness of war that drives him to turn away from the ideology of Nazism. We can see in both of the characters that what they are is what they are told to be or what they are lied to be. For the protagonist in Happy End, he is a butcher, yes, and he also a killer which is determined by the judge, the trial which he was put on. For Jojo, he is a Nazi by the story that he is being lied by the Nazi party. He's a 10-year-old boy who thinks that he is a Nazi, but actually he is just a boy who is being fancied by the idea of being a part of something.
You're not a Nazi.
I'm massively into swastikas, so I think that's a pretty good sign right there.
You're not a Nazi, Jojo. You're a 10-year-old kid who likes swastikas and likes dressing up in a funny uniform and wants to be part of a club.
And that's the end of my presentation. Feel free to leave any comments or questions if you do have, and I'll try my best to answer it. And thank you for listening.